Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, or if you happen to be watching this later in the day, in the evening, good day, good afternoon, good evening, etc. I'm here to talk to you about something I wish I didn't have to talk to you about. I wish it was just a nightmare, but it is in fact our reality. President Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin and everyone in their cultish gang are working desperately to control our minds. And they are taking blatantly unconstitutional approaches to achieve those ends. I know, it sounds crazy. Like I said, it feels like I'm dreaming. This is all so surreal. By the way, this isn't just a dream, it's a nightmare. But alas, ladies and gentlemen, let us review recent attempts on the part of President Trump and his administration, not only to prevent dissent or criticism from reaching the media, whereby the public can see at large the president's treason, incompetence, and severe shortage of ethics. It is crucial, I believe, for me to submit my evidence with also providing context. First of all, I am far from the only person sounding these alarms. Yesterday, the Washington Post analyst, James Hohmann, I believe is how it's pronounced, published an article with a headline reading, "Trump creates an alternative reality, and he wants you to join him there." I will provide you with a link after this live stream broadcast. Hohmann cites a revealing quote from President Trump, and I hope everybody will listen to this. This is what Trump said. "What you are seeing and what you are reading is not what's happening." I want to repeat those words from the President of the United States one more time so it can be made perfectly clear that the President wants to encourage people to doubt their most basic perceptions and instead put all their faith in him. This is the textbook method of establishing what? I'll give you a chance to answer the million-dollar question. What is this a textbook example of establishing? Do I have an answer from the audience? Hello, Casey. Thank you for watching. I appreciate your time. Well, I'm going to tell you what this is a textbook method of establishing. Totalitarian, dictatorial, Orwellian, authoritarian, despotic, tyrannical power. Textbook case, ladies and gentlemen. It's what Putin does. It's what Kim Jong-un does. It's what Stalin did. It's what Hitler did. Here's a quote for you that's very telling. Quote, "Repeat a lie often enough and it becomes the truth. So went the Nazi Germany mantra. It was their fundamental principle of propaganda and mind control." There's a really valuable and elucidating article published by the BBC, written by Tom Stafford on October 26, 2016, with the headline, it reads like this: "How Liars Create the Illusion of Truth," citing multiple, and this article cites multiple psychological research findings that conclude repetition makes a fact actually seem more true regardless of whether or not it is. Understanding this effect, says psychologist Tom Stafford, according to the BBC article, understanding this effect can help you avoid falling for propaganda. So let's make the context a little deeper now. It's very important. According to the Toronto Star, as of now, President Trump has told 2,083 lies. CNN, which Trump calls fake news, and we should pay attention to that, puts the count at over 3,000. The Washington Post presently puts it at 3,001 lies. I think the takeaway should be that it's widely accepted among the media and civil society even that Trump is a pathological liar. So when a pathological liar says to the American people, most of whom, again, know without a doubt he is absolutely a pathological liar, when he says to we the people, quote, what you're seeing and what you're reading is not what's happening, it is blatantly clear that Trump is striving desperately, perhaps by banking on the power of shock and audacity. You know, you get so stunned by something that you just don't believe it. And I'll give a perfect example were the Jews during the Holocaust. At every further step of deeper perpetuation of violence against the Jews, they said, oh no, it's going to pass. It's going to, he's never going to go further than this, and he constantly would. So I think that was a lot of shock at Hitler's audacity there. I think, therefore, that Trump is banking on the power of shock and audacity to pressure vulnerable minds to reject what they perceive and take Trump's word for everything. That's the context. Now let us consider President Trump's attacks on dissent and his exact approaches. Yesterday, as the Huffington Post reports, actually it was widely reported, but I'm drawing specifically from the Huffington Post article, CNN reporter Caitlin Collins, as the Huffington Post reports, quote, said she was called to White House Deputy Chief of Staff Bill Shine's office, where Shine and White House Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders disinvited her from the press event. CNN said in a statement, I'm still quoting from the Huffington Post article, that Shine and Huckabee Sanders told Collins, get ready for this, her questions were, get ready, inappropriate. Well, that's the end of citation from the Huffington Post article there. Now, a thought of my own here. I didn't know that the First Amendment listed inappropriate questions as one of the exceptions of free speech or free press. And by the way, I don't know that those questions that she asked were inappropriate. Anyway, since it's not written in the Constitution, there's no inappropriateness clause in the Constitution, Shine and Sanders will have to let us know where they got that one from. The Huffington Post adds this, and I think it's important. Quote, Collins was serving as the network pool reporter, representing all of the major news networks for an event with European Commission President Jean-Claude Juncker on Wednesday. At the end of it, she and other reporters asked Trump a few questions, as is common for journalists who attend such gatherings. Trump sometimes answers questions in these situations, other times he chooses not to. According to CNN, Collins asked Trump questions about Michael Cohen, his former attorney who is under federal investigation and whose secret recording of Trump was recently released. She also asked about Russian President Vladimir Putin, whom the Trump administration planned to invite to Washington, D.C. this fall before pushing back the meeting. Other journalists at the event, including Huffington Post Ryan Riley, also asked the president about Cohen's tapes multiple times as staffers ushered them out of the office. Worth repeating. And I hope that it will sink in, ladies and gentlemen. Other journalists at the event, including Huffington Post's Ryan Riley, also asked the president about Cohen's tapes multiple times as staffers ushered them out of the office. Therefore, those who are asking questions that the president does not like are being stripped from access to individuals who should have to answer those questions. That is blatantly unconstitutional behavior. Thankfully, people on the left and the right in the media community are condemning these actions. Even the president of Fox News had this to say, according to the Huffington Post. Quote, "We stand in strong solidarity with CNN for the right to full access for our journalists as part of the free and unfettered press." Close quote. That's from the president of Fox News. Emphasis on free and unfettered press and full access. Those are things which the Trump administration denied yesterday. The Trump administration denied full access for our journalists as part of the free and unfettered press. Yesterday, we witnessed a lack of freedom in the press. Yesterday, we saw a fettered press. The president is engaged, and his administration is engaged in utterly, unequivocally unconstitutional behavior. Now let's talk about Trump's desire to revoke security clearances for people in the intelligence community who are critical of him. You know, God forbid there are opinions other than his. You'll notice strikingly similar language in the justification out of the mouth of Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders. Here's what she said, and I'm quoting from The Hill's report. "Making baseless accusations of improper contact with Russia or being influenced by Russia against the president is extremely inappropriate. And the fact that people with security clearances are making these baseless charges provides inappropriate legitimacy to accusations with zero evidence," Sarah Huckabee Sanders told reporters Monday. Are you noticing a word here? Inappropriate. Sarah Huckabee Sanders is obsessed with the word inappropriate. Take note of this. Reporters are asking inappropriate questions, and others are expressing inappropriate concern and criticism. According to the White House, inappropriate behavior, not illegal behavior, not verifiably dangerous behavior, such as inciting violence or something. Just inappropriate behavior is grounds for harassment, intimidation, and silencing dissent. I want to say that again. So-called inappropriate behavior, as defined by Trump's White House, not a legal document, is grounds for harassment, intimidation, and silencing dissent, according to Trump's White House. Inappropriate behavior. Funny thing about that, ladies and gentlemen, perhaps you'll follow my logic here. I thought President Trump's reference to shithole countries was inappropriate. I thought it was inappropriate for the president to boast about how he grabs women by their genitalia without their consent. I thought it was inappropriate of the president, treasonous in fact, for the president to publicly humiliate U.S. intelligence officials in front of the entire world and say Putin, who murders his critics, is the one who has it all correct. It is Putin, Trump said with his own mouth, who is, quote, strong and powerful compared to our invalid intelligence community and their unanimous findings. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm just putting it out there for whatever it's worth. I'm not the only one who is outraged by this, by the way. Again, from The Hill, quote, "It's never happened before and sets a bad precedent," said Jim Lewis, a former U.S. official and expert in foreign policy and intelligence at the Center for Strategic and International Studies. Let's repeat that. He said, "It's never happened before, and it sets bad precedent." The New York Times adds to Huckabee's desperate attempt to find a clever sounding justification, for a lack of better words. The president is exploring the mechanisms to remove security clearances because they politicized and sometimes, some cases, monetized their public service and security clearances, reports the New York Times. That really is laughable, because meanwhile, President Trump monetizes his public service. Though I think that his public service is really much more a disservice. But he monetizes his service at the Trump Hotel in Washington, D.C., where members of foreign governments stay and thereby bribe him in attempts to influence his policy decisions, which each dollar they pay, with each dollar they pay for services there. Lies and hypocrisy attempt to crush dissent. Good morning, Sherry. It's really nice of you to take a moment to listen to what I have to say. I'm very flattered, and thank you, and hope you're having a lovely morning. As I was saying, lies and hypocrisy and attempt to crush dissent is what we're seeing here. This is what we are witnessing. Some people argue that the people Trump are targeting don't need their security clearances anyway. But as the New York Times points out, former high-ranking officials in defense intelligence, diplomacy, and law enforcement usually maintain their clearances to advise those still in government, former officials said to the New York Times. A clearance also serves a more personally profitable function, helping departing officials get jobs at security contractors or smaller firms after their service with the government. Revoking their access to classified information could weaken their ability to work as consultants, lobbyists, and advisors in Washington. More from the New York Times. It is intended to punish and intimidate his critics, and is shameful, said Jeffrey H. Smith, a former general counsel for the CIA. But what is it our president tells us? Take him at his own word. Quote, "What you're seeing and what you're reading is not what's happening." I'll say it again. What you're seeing and what you're reading is not what's happening. Reality is not reality. Trump's crazy brain is actually reality. I don't think so. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in utterly rejecting this occultist behavior of a treasonous, criminal, and despotic president by calling Congress to demand that they impeach Trump now. Thank you so much, and have a fantastic day.